question for you now. So before last week, I think maybe it was when I was with Stu, but I shared this anecdote or this sort of advice, which was if you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask which seat, just sit down and buckle up. And this is just career advice, which is if you're not going to start your own company.
Yeah, you got flack for it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought people loved it. What do you mean?
Well,
what was the criticism?
It's a nice sized audience. Not everyone's going to be happy.
But what was the criticism based on? It wasn't even controversial.
Just stuff like titles. It was just comments like people saying titles are important. How much you get paid is more important. Things like that.
That's crazy. Disagree. Hard disagree. Okay, so anyways, the question was that led to a different question, which is what are the rocket ships of today? And so somebody, by the way, took that idea and made a rocket ship newsletter for jobs or
Henry
whatever.
Johnson.
But beyond that, I was just sort of thinking, just my thought experiment. What companies that today are worth 1 to 5 billion do I believe will be multi-hundred billion? So just as a way of phrasing it simpler, what $5 billion company today could become a $500 billion company in the future? Okay. I say this because we have friends who bought Facebook secondary stock back in 2006 and 2007 when Facebook was valued at over $1 billion. And today Facebook's like whatever, $500 billion company. And that, it was clear it wasn't going to zero. It was clear it was a thing. And the question, but you could have invested then and got a phenomenal return. And I have several friends who did. I had a friend, Josh Buckley, who's a good guy, founder, and
British guy.
Yeah, he's a British guy.
I know him.
He was telling me, we were just hanging out one day and he's like, yeah, I'm buying secondary stock of Stripe as much as I can get. And I was like, oh, like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not doing that. Why are you doing that? I should do that. And he was like, yeah, I just think Stripe's a great company and there's secondary stock available and I'm just buying it. I'm like, well, what's the valuation? It's already like a $2 billion company. He's like, yeah, but it's like Stripe's going to be big. He's like, I think Stripe's going to be huge. So I'm just buying up secondary. And now, so Stripe's valued now at like $20 billion. So he took essentially like a no-risk bet, in my opinion, and 10x'd his money on a private company that was already a unicorn, but wasn't yet on the stock market, wasn't doing like 10% a year. That's a 10x appreciation. So long story short, what companies do you think have that potential that are in the single-digit billions today or less that you think could be a Facebook, Google, Amazon of our generation?
So a few years ago, I answered this question, and I thought it was Atlassian, and I went in on that, and it worked.
Okay, tell me about that. What do you mean it worked?
What,
back then it was.
Can you just look? Go ahead, Henry. Go to
stock
Atlassian stock. You're busy today. I invested in Atlassian stock. I mean, it's not like Atlassian. It's spelled with an A.
AT.
AT. There it is. Yeah, and then go to all time. I bought Max on the far right. I bought it when it went public. So what did it go up by? It 3x.
So that's like a 3x already?
So I 3x my money. So I bought Atlassian because I read their annual report and I was like, oh, these guys are great.
Right.
And
so their market cap's now $35 billion.
Yeah. So I bought it right when it went out. So that worked out well.
What do you think can get to the over $100 billion? Because it's very hard to get over $100 billion.
How many companies are worth over $100 billion? Like 50?
Very, very few. Especially if you think about tech companies. So some of the tech companies that made it, Amazon made it, Google made it, Microsoft made it, Facebook made it. Uber did not quite make it yet, but it's getting there. Tesla made it. I think I invested in Tesla when it was at about this number 5 to 8 billion.
Oh, really?
And now it's almost 100 billion. And so that's a
game.
big lift of a company that it's out there. It's not a seed stage startup you're taking a bet on, right? It's a company that's out there. And the other way to take the bet on it, even if you're not an investor, is to go work at one of these companies, right? So like Airbnb was a good candidate. Now it's valued too high to qualify for this. Airbnb is like at, I don't know, 35 billion or something like that.
We'll see what happens with this.
But it's not in the single digit billions anymore. But when we moved to San Francisco, we could have done that, right?
When I moved to San Francisco, I had a job offer at Airbnb when it was worth $1 billion.
1 billion.
Maybe less. I don't know. There was only, no, it was less. It was 2012.
Right. So let's just say it was at $1 billion, which it wasn't, but let's say it was.
Yeah, I would have made $10 million.
So
I don't know.
It's 35x. So even if you had just gotten a sort of standard stock package, which was like over 4 years, you're going to get 200 grand.
Yeah, I would have made $5 or $10 million.
Yeah, that's insane.
And I got fired before I even showed up to work.
So some other candidates that I put up here, Flexport, I think is a candidate.
Maybe.
Oh, you got some inside intel? That sounded like a juicy maybe.
Well, Ryan told me he thinks it's going to be massive or it's going to go bankrupt.
Okay.
which is like how you're gonna be when you're.
Yeah, that's how you're gonna be.
That's how you gotta
So
be.
some other, this was harder than I thought. I also tweeted this out. So the most popular answers I got was Airtable and Carta, and I pretty much disagree with both of those. I don't know. I asked. So these are smart people replying, and I was like, Carta? Why Carta?
We should get Carter to sponsor this podcast, by the way.
Yeah, why are they not sponsoring
I don't know.
this
You guys
podcast?
need a sponsor, and I don't give a fuck if people sponsor. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Carta, it's the
You use
best
it.
option out there, but it still needs a lot to improve.
Right.
I use it. I give you guys $5,000 a year. I'm happy that I give you the money, but it can improve.
Yeah. So Airtable, it would have to basically replace Excel in the corporate world for it to do this. Otherwise, it will not be a $100 billion company.
How about Gusto?
Gusto's a good one. So I think there's a lot that are in the sort of either HR tech. Just you need to be in huge spaces.
I like Gusto and Rippling.
Yeah, Gusto, Rippling. I think.
I would bet.
I mean,
on
100 billion is a high bar, but yeah. So other ones that I put up here. So Stripe, but it's past this point. So Coinbase only if Bitcoin actually becomes like if Bitcoin actually is the thing, it becomes the global reserve currency. Then
Well, it doesn't have to be.
the largest Bitcoin sort of company, the largest Bitcoin brand would be, I think.
Yeah,
in
it just
the
has.
$100 billion.
Can it become Bank of America? Can it become Wells Fargo? Yeah,
But I think Bitcoin has to become that relevant for Coinbase to be.
yeah. I
Bank
buy.
of
I
America.
buy that.
Open Door is another one, just because residential real estate is so big. So if they actually have a working model, they could become a $100 billion company.
I don't buy that
Because what?
because Zillow and Truly aren't that huge.
They don't do what these guys do, though. Zillow and Trulia, they sell leads to brokers. They're now trying to copy Open Door, so now they offer what Open Door offers. But Open Door is literally buying and selling the houses. They're flipping houses at scale, which is pretty crazy.
What else?
This was tough. I don't know. That's all I had. But I put this on here. I wasn't going to talk about it initially, but I'm like, I want to bring this up. I want people to tell me what I'm wrong about, or what companies I should be considering in this. But I think it's a really important question because for me, I'm going to go try to buy secondary stock in all these companies.
Okay, so I don't.
And if you're working, you should go work at one of these companies.
100 billion that's impossible. I'm not even going to try to predict that because only a few hundred people, a few hundred businesses have ever probably done that. I don't know the number, but that's really hard to say. But if I had to make a prediction, I do think that there will be some new search engines. And I also think that some of the new Chrome replacements could be quite large. So Brave is one of them. What's another one?
Replacing the browser.
Yeah. Anything that are replacing browsers, I think are kind of cool and could potentially be that big. I think there's going to be a lot of browser.
I think if any company nails AR, they will be able to do this. But that's a ways away, I believe.
How about Zeusk? Is that what it's called?
Zoox, the self-driving car company.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the other. I considered all the self-driving car companies because I'm like, if one of them becomes a success, a successful self-driving car company, the market leader will be worth over 100 billion. It's just more likely, I believe, is more likely to be Tesla or one of the incumbents. They'll buy one of these companies rather than that company independently going from where it is today, which is 1 billion to 100 billion.
How about this? What companies are public now that could grow that much? So I was talking to Moise the other day, and we were looking at stamps.com.
Yeah.
They were crazy undervalued, and the next day we were like, let's buy this. And the next day we didn't buy in time. It
Went up 50%.
went up 50%.
Yeah, I love that.
It was coincidental.
Just I saw an interesting stat. Over the last 10 years, if you had just bought the FANG companies, so Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google, in the 10 years, it outperformed all VCs. It outperformed even the sort of top expected returns of venture capital. So the public market, if you just bought the 5 most popular tech stocks, you did better. It was a 24% IRR over 10 years.
Okay, well, what's public now that could... I don't fucking know. That's a great question. That's hard. You got to really bet on industries.